Hey, are you ready to go cook with Tiger? Yes, it's Let's Go Cook with Tiger, and it's sweet again tonight. I am making a tartala bouillie, which in the bakery we would call it pap pudding for short. But I'm doing a chocolate. You can do it in chocolate, you can do it in vanilla, you can do it in coconut. My mom used to love raisin. You know, you just make a regular pap pie, pap filling, and you put raisins in it. Whatever it is that you enjoy. Today I'm doing chocolate because that's my favorite, my son's favorite dessert. And yes, that chocolate cake I made the other day is gone. Whoo, did we have some sweets this weekend? I need to cut that stuff out. But lots of people, you know, I'm doing lots of videos because I'm writing a cookbook. So in writing the cookbook, this keeps me on task so that I can show you how it's done. I post it on YouTube and you can see how it's done, how it's made outside. I'm doing a little bit of a twist because I'm tartala bouillie. You usually have a sweet dough crust for it. But I'm using a graham cracker crust, as you can see right there. Just a little bit of a twist on it. Something to make it simple, easier in the household. If you're not much of a baker, you can cook this pudding, put it in pie shells, and there you go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn the fire on. I'm going to put it on high. I've got a can of evaporated milk. This is a can of water. I've got half a stick of margarine in there already with 1 cup of sugar, which the recipe will be on my YouTube video. That's where I put the recipes at. 1 cup of sugar. And we're going to mix this in, you know, because you don't want that sugar to burn on the bottom. We're going to mix it in. And I'm doing it chocolate. So, and I'm going to show you my measurements. A heaping tablespoon of cocoa, which I'm actually going to do 2. 2 heaping spoons of cocoa. And we're going to mix this in. Now this first part is easy, okay? It's 1 can of evaporated milk, 1 can of water, which if you want to measure it out, it's 12 ounces of water. But if you just fill the can back up, you know, you get the most out of it. 2 tablespoons of cocoa, a cup of sugar, and half a stick of margarine. Not a pound, half a stick of margarine. And I've got the whisk where I'm whisking this cocoa in. But I'm going to use the whisk instead of a spoon to cook the pudding so that it's not lumpy. Because the second part, once this comes to a boil, I'm just trying to mix the cocoa in. But once this comes to a boil, I'm going to add the second part, which, waiting on this to come, I've kind of mixed the cocoa in. In here, I've got 3 eggs, 1 cup of water, 2 heaping tablespoons of flour, 2 heaping tablespoons of cornstarch, and some vanilla. A teaspoon of vanilla. So, we didn't do it like this in the bakery. You know, we whipped it up in a bowl, and then we added it to this. Well, you know, modern day technology, I've used my little Ninja, and it's all mixed together, good. And when this comes to a boil, this is how easy this is. I mean, there are several ways that you can make this pudding, okay? And it's called tartala bouillie. And several ways to make it, but this is the way we made it in the bakery. It's an easy way, in my opinion, to make it. I'm just mixing up the chocolate and waiting on this to come to a boil. I've got it on high because because I want it to come to a boil. And you don't want to leave it alone, because if it comes to a boil and you're not right here, you're going to have a mess on your stovetop. So we're going to wait for this to come to a boil, which shouldn't take long. And believe me, this is not going to be a long video, because it doesn't take. Once it comes to a boil, you can see that the milk's starting to get hot. Once it comes to a boil, and I'm going to lower the fire to about a medium heat, and I'm going to slowly add this. Continue. Once you add part 2, you have to continually be stirring it. And in stirring it, you don't want the eggs to clump up, so you got to continue stirring it. And like I said, I'm using this whisk, so that way it's not going to be lumpy or whatever. But you got to continue stirring the whole pot, stirring the bottom. You don't want it to get stuck. You don't want it to do anything. Okay, my margarine is just about all melted. But just an FYI, in my YouTube video, which is going to be this video, but the directions is going to have also the recipe to make the sweet dough crust. If you're ambitious and you're wanting to do it that way. My son likes just a graham cracker crust. So I'm like, that's easy. I can do that. So, but I'll also include that in the YouTube video, in the description of all of the ingredients and how to do things. Part 1, part 2. So that way it's easier for you. Just wanted to make sure all my cocoa is mixed in. And you know, even if I'm making a chocolate pie, a regular chocolate pie, you know, you can get the cooked pudding in the store, the Jell-O cooked pudding in the store, but I use this anyway, because for the holidays we'll make a chocolate pie and I'll make my pudding from scratch. Because it's so easy, it's homemade, it don't have a whole lot of preservatives in it. The only thing, you know, it's all real ingredients, and it's definitely healthier for you than adding all of those other ingredients that are not all of the chemicals that they put in it to preserve it, right? My milk, part 1, 1 can of evaporated milk, 1 can of water, which is 12 ounces of water, a cup of sugar, and half a stick of margarine. That's all I have in the pot right there, plus 2 heaping tablespoons of cocoa, because I'm making chocolate. It's almost ready to add part 2, and I'm going to show you how fast this is going to go. Because this is the longer part that you're waiting, but you get everything mixed up and ready to go. Okay, it's boiling now. I'm going to turn it to a medium heat. And I am going to add this. Part 2 is 3 eggs, 1 cup of water, 2 heaping tablespoons of cornstarch, 2 heaping tablespoons of flour. And if you're on this gluten, you can't have gluten. You can use gluten-free flour. It's just a thickener. And you can, whenever you add it to it, you have to continue stirring it. I have a teaspoon of vanilla in there as well. And now that I've added it to it, I've got it on a medium heat. Continue stirring, because it's going to turn really quick. And you continue stirring this. And I've got the whisk, and I'm continuing to do this. And you're going to want it to be pudding, thick pudding. See, it's too thin yet. But it's turning. It's getting thicker by the second. You want to stir the whole pot. You don't want to leave anything clumping up. Continual stirring. Continue. That sound like a crazy lady now? I mean, anybody can do this. Whether you want it vanilla, chocolate, coconut, I would add a cup of angel flake coconut, but I put it in the little Ninja, and pulse it into some fine pieces. Okay, now this pudding is done. Turn it off. I'm going to continue stirring it just for a little while for it to get a little bit thicker. And that is it. That's how long it takes. Not much time. If you see in the pot, you can see thick pudding. Okay? It's a thick pudding. Quick and easy. Like I said, I'm going to have the recipe. If you go from here, you can see it here. And I'm going to upload the same video to my YouTube channel. And I'm going to divide this into 2 pies. And that's it. How easy is that, right? 2 tarte à la bouillie pies, a little bit of a spin with the crust because I've got it in graham cracker crust instead of having it in a sweet dough crust. But like I said, I'll put the recipe on come cook with Tiger. Come with you, Patty. Thank you. But I'll have the recipe for the dough if you're ambitious and you want to do it the old-fashioned way, or if you want to improvise and put it in a graham cracker crust. You got the same flavor, just it's a lot easier to go ahead and just whip up some pies, put it in the refrigerator. I'm going to let this cool, and you know, the little piece that comes off of it, remove the paper in the middle of it, and I'm going to cover it. I'm just going to cover it like this to put it in the refrigerator. But you have to let them come to room temperature before you cover and before you put it in the refrigerator so that it doesn't liquefy again. So just wanted to share that with y'all. Let's go cook with Tiger. Look for me on YouTube. Go there and see the whole ingredients. Give me a little while to get everything together to do that. But thank y'all for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining me on Let's Go Cook with Tiger. Look at those pies behind me, man. That is gorgeous. So see you next time. Let's go cook with Tiger.